Alvo's Insurance, a legacy of trust. Serving Micronesia since 1938. Matson celebrating 25 years of commitment to Guam, Micronesia, and the CNMI. Cars Plus, Guam's leader in sustainability and electric vehicles. Learn more at carsplusguam.com. McDonald's of Guam, I'm loving it, and King's Restaurant, serving your local breakfast, lunch, and dinner favorites for over 45 years.
Ahead on KUAM News Primetime, the public health emergency will be extended yet again. Nestor Lecanto with reaction from the governor after senators failed to get enough votes to put an end to it. Plus, a mother who admitted to smuggling drugs into the prison is spared from having to spend any additional time behind bars. Her emotional plea inside the courtroom. And 2 years since his acquittal on negligent homicide charges, former Guam police officer Mark Torrey Jr. officially freed from his criminal record. A judge recently signing off on the order.
Hafa and good evening, everyone. Welcome to Primetime. I'm Nick Delgado. Glad you could join us. Well, the governor is extending the public health emergency after this month. This after an attempted override of her veto of a bill that would have required her to get legislative approval in order to extend the public health emergency failed last Friday. Nestor Lecanto has more.
The governor says she's glad the override failed.
As a result of the public health emergency, we are able to provide more resources in case we have to quickly respond. And of course, there are other federal grants that rely on the public health emergency.
The administration sent an 11th hour appeal to Speaker Therese Terlahi and senators not to override the veto, expanding on the negative impacts of a premature end to the emergency declaration. During closing remarks at session Friday, Speaker Terlahi said it's wrong to think the bill will end the public health emergency immediately.
I want to emphasize that Bill 11 does not take away the authority of the governor to declare a state of public health emergency. Bill 11 allows a declaration for 90 days, and then, should the administration intend to extend the declaration, it requires that the legislature and the people of Guam be informed as to why that extension is necessary. This bill is not a power struggle. It is a call to put in place and ensure by law a better system of communication and transparency during prolonged emergencies.
Bill sponsor Minority Leader Chris Duenas argued likewise, but also criticized the administration's failure to engage all of the legislature.
But no. That would be too transparent. That would be too much work. That would be too much accountability.
And fellow Republican Senator Joanne Brown also weighed in about a purposeful lack of checks and balances.
The fact that the majority of members of this legislature, the majority party of this legislature, continue to abdicate their responsibilities, make you wonder why. Maybe the people of Guam need to look a little closer. Maybe they need to get that magnifying glass and look a little closer at this legislature and the members of this legislature, and the relationships that members of this legislature may have with the administration.
Multiple attempts to override the governor's veto have failed. Senator Duenas is hoping it's not over yet.
I pray that the next legislature will go into this Emergency Power Act and scrub it and fix it to make sure that we never vest that kind of power in one individual.
For KUAM News, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
A mother who admitted to smuggling drugs to her other half inside the Department of Corrections prison tells a Superior Court judge it was a mistake. The 30-year-old is spared from having to spend another day in prison following an emotional sentencing hearing this afternoon. Here's more.
Womalyn Marigolay Cabrera sat before Superior Court Judge Alberto Tolentino Monday afternoon, ready to learn her fate. The judge giving her a 3-year suspended prison sentence, meaning no jail time.
I admit that I did, and what I did was wrong. I learned from my mistake.
a mistake she admits to. In March of 2017, Cabrera attempted to pass meth, tobacco, and marijuana to inmate Jacob Menno, who she was visiting at the prison. The couple were dating at the time.
I'm not going to go back to doing the same mistake again.
The mother of 5, emotional inside the courtroom.
There's a lot that I want to do and pursue, but I can't because there's so much that this is holding me back right now.
You understand that it's holding you back because it's your fault?
Yes, of course, my fault.
Cabrera, who pleaded guilty to promoting major prison contraband, will serve 3 years supervised probation and perform community service. She told the court she's on track to bettering her life for her and her children. Cabrera walked out of the courtroom hugging her family and sharing these words.
I feel good. I'm going to complete my goal and get out of the system.
Any message to the community?
Stay out of drugs. Stay drug free.
Well, the man facing murder charges in the 2020 deadly bludgeoning of 77-year-old Sun Cha Park Allen could be asking a Superior Court judge to toss his case. 20-year-old Jeremy Janelle Alvarez appeared before Judge Vernon Perez today. Defense attorney Doug Moylan telling the court they've waited nearly a year for prosecutors to hand over the DNA report to be used as evidence. Moylan saying he will file a motion to dismiss for failure to prosecute, as he contends the defendant has been patiently waiting for the evidence to prepare to go to trial. Alvarez previously rejected the prosecutor's plea deal. Investigators say Alvarez and the victim lived in the same Sinahania home being shared by several others. It was in December of 2020 Alvarez allegedly hit Allen with a hammer 5 to 10 times, killing her. He allegedly told police he attacked the victim after she touched his genitals. The former Guam police officer, twice cleared of criminal charges connected to the shooting death of fellow officer Albert Piolo, officially getting his record expunged. Superior Court Judge Arthur Barcina is signing the order Friday, nearly 2 years since a jury found Mark Torrey Jr. not guilty for Piolo's death. Piolo died in 2015 out front of Torrey's Chigo home. The pair had gone out for a night of drinks when they ended up there. 911 calls played in the court had Piolo yelling, quote, "He shot me, he shot me." Defense arguing Piolo wanted to take his own life and that Torrey was only trying to stop him from pulling the trigger. The expungement of record now means that the case no longer exists. Torrey, now a free man. Torrey was thankful at the time he was acquitted in November of 2020. Piolo's family was in disbelief, calling the verdict unfair. No word yet if Torrey will try to get his job back at GPD. Murder defendant Nicholas Moore is back in court tomorrow for his drive-by shooting case. Parties will argue a motion in the case before Judge Alberto Tolentino Tuesday afternoon. The trial has been faced with multiple delays over the past several weeks. The court even denying Moore's request for a mistrial in mid-September. Moore stands accused in a 2020 drive-by shooting in Agana Heights that sent another man to the hospital. Co-actor Eric Salone has been testifying for the prosecution since cutting a plea deal. Moore also awaits his day in court for the alleged murder of Michael Castro and, separately, for having sex with a child. Well, a man is fighting for his life tonight after his car crashed into a concrete pole early Sunday and caught fire. We brought you the story on Weekend Edition. Guam police confirming he is critical in the intensive care unit at Guam Regional Medical City. The crash happened just after 3 a.m. Sunday along Route 1 Marine Corps Drive near Wistick Road in Dededo. Authorities are investigating the cause of the crash. Still to come on your news leader, a shutdown averted in the CNMI after government officials passed the budget. Regional correspondent Tomas Manglotnia with the story. And October is National Bullying Prevention Month. Daniel Perez has that report when we return.
Get up-to-the-minute news, plus access to alerts, streaming radio, promotions, and more on your mobile device by downloading the KUAM News mobile app, available at the App Store now.
Half a day. I'm Eddie Calvo, and I've had the good fortune of knowing and working with attorney Tom Fisher for several years. Tom is a highly intelligent man who knows the law, and he's very serious and mission-driven. And he's focused on getting things done right, and he doesn't waste time. Smart, determined, and efficient, and that's exactly what we need in the legislature. Please vote for Thomas Fisher for Senator.
I'm Tom Fisher, and I approve this message.
My name is Leonza Selvage, and I have a 4-year-old daughter who goes to lots of learning daycare. So with the rising cost of living, it helps tremendously with bills. I don't have to worry about paying for childcare services. Knowing that this program is offered to our people, most especially our children, I think something to definitely be grateful for. I learned about Programan Panilan from the mayor's offices here, and my initial reaction to the program, I was actually in disbelief that this program offered free childcare services to our people. I wanted to give my mom a break for a little bit, so when I found out about the program, I jumped right on it. I was relieved because childcare at no cost. I'm thankful for this program because I don't have to worry about an extra set of bills coming my way. I'm grateful to the governor, the lieutenant governor, everyone behind the scenes that made this happen.
Need help paying for childcare? Guam families can receive financial support through Programan Pinilan. Learn more and apply at guamchildcare.com.
Buenas, I'm Amanda Shelton. Whether creating the first Veterans Bill of Rights, increasing scholarship funding for college students, creating the Opioid Recovery Fund, providing pandemic relief to companies, or pushing to raise the cost of living for our Manamku, my time as a lawmaker has always been about empowering people. I metgut na isla tumatuhun kon metgut na kabatsizu, who prometi how esti.
Please re-elect Amanda Shelton for Senator, Johnny Cole Torres Treasurer.
Introducing the new Choice Bundles from GTA. Choose from the services you want and save big when you bundle. Fast internet speeds, unlimited mobile data, digital TV that you can stream anywhere, and digital home phone for Guam's most reliable network. The more you choose, the more you save. Over $1,000 a year. And for a limited time, bundle Internet 75 or higher and get a $100 account credit. Visit GTA.net and use our bundle calculator to see how much you can save. GTA, we start with you.
What drives you? The Leon Guerrero Tenorio administration is recruiting bus drivers. You don't need any experience to apply, just a driver's license, be at least 18 years old, have a high school diploma, pass a drug test, and have a clean traffic record. We will cover the cost of training, and the best part, it is a paid internship, so you can earn money while you learn and get certified. At the end of training, you'll have a job waiting for you with the Guam Regional Transit Authority or the Department of Public Works. This is part of our administration's larger effort to strengthen our workforce through training programs at the Department of Labor and Guam Community College, where we've already helped hundreds of people get into meaningful careers. For more information, visit the American Job Center at the GCIC building in Hagåtña, 3rd floor, or call 671-475-7000.
This ad is supported by employment and training program funds from the U.S. Department of Labor as part of an award totaling $4.4 million.
Subscribe to our KUAM News Digest, our weekly email newsletter with all kinds of information straight to your inbox. Just subscribe and we'll make sure to keep you informed and entertained with news from the KUAM News team, what to watch on NBC and CBS, and the latest promotions from KUAM Communications. Go to KUAM.com, click on the newsletter tab at the top of the homepage, register, and you're all set. Brought to you by Uno Go, Guam On Demand.
Welcome back. Well, the governor is fresh off an historic U.S. Pacific Island Country Summit called by President Joe Biden at the White House. She attended the high-level meetings as an observer with the U.S. delegation. Nestor Lecanto with more.
The summit brought together the leaders of more than a dozen island nations from the North and South Pacific, who walked away with new pledges of more than $800 million in U.S. assistance. Much of the money will go toward a top concern: mitigating the impact of climate change and rising tides. The governor says her main takeaway was the successful signing of an 11-point U.S. Pacific Partnership Declaration.
I think that's a very good working document, and I was very excited that all the nations signed on to this agreement. And so, you know, that's a big jump, I think, ahead. And if you look at the document, it's very workable, very realistic, and can be done.
The U.S. also promised to resurrect the Peace Corps, which had a strong presence here during the old Trust Territory days.
In the 60s and early 70s, where we had a very strong presence of Peace Corps here that helped with education, with health, to help lift up our people here. That's going to be again reestablished throughout the island nations.
Other key assistance is expected from the U.S. Agency for International Development and the Millennium Challenge Corporation, As a signal of Guam's importance, Governor Leon Guerrero was seated at the head table next to Secretary of State Antony Blinken on the first day of the summit.
Guam was very well acknowledged, recognized as a key player in this part of the world.
To further raise our stature in the region, the governor says Guam will apply for full membership in the Pacific Islands Forum, the key policy group in global geopolitics.
I think as our status as a U.S. territory, being a full member in the Pacific Island Forum gives the great signal that we are seen on an equal level with the island nations.
For KUAM News, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
Well, the recent federal court dismissal of a lawsuit against the military's open burning and detonation of waste munitions near Taragi Beach has triggered many to sign an online petition. Prutehi Latektan Savertidian started the petition earlier this year, calling for the U.S. Air Force to stop the activity and consider alternative environmentally preferred technologies for weapons disposal. The petition, which is addressed to Guam's governor, getting about 2,300 signatures by midday today. The military's permit to continue the activity up north remains under review by Guam EPA. Shutdown averted, thousands of CNMI government workers returning to work today after the legislature and governor reached a compromise over the budget. Regional correspondent Tomas Manglotnia was there when the governor signed the budget into law. Files this report.
A partial CNMI government shutdown was averted. Thousands of government employees were able to report back to work Monday after the legislature reached a compromise over the budget, which Governor Ralph Torres signed over the weekend.
It's not so much of what you guys voted on that was my issue. My issue was, why did the House majority took this long to act on it and then jeopardize every government employee here? That was my biggest issue.
Most of the governor's vetoes were related to reporting requirements, which he described as redundant. Torres gathered his allies and Republicans running for office to join him in a signing ceremony on Saturday.
There are other portions of the Senate version, and there are other portions of the House version that was collapsed in to come up with a balanced budget. We did compromise some parts of the budget.
But we are able to locate funding and make it available for our retirees, as well as the Medicaid matching of $7.2 million, in addition to the $5 million in our current fiscal year to match Medicaid.
Amid the celebration, noticeably absent were Lieutenant Governor Arnold Palacios, who's running against Torres, and members of House leadership.
Actually, I didn't invite either one of them. For one, there's no reason to invite someone that doesn't believe in the leadership.
Tomas Manglotnia for KUAM News on Saipan.
Well, KUAM is coordinating for a cause campaign begins today. This is our and your chance to get involved with the campaigns to bring awareness to a variety of causes happening throughout the year. Tonight, we wear orange as October is National Bullying Prevention Month. The public school system reporting today more than 24 cases of bullying happening so far this year.
It's an age-old problem spanning decades, bullying. Throughout the island, students from both public and private schools experience this. It can be in the form of name-calling, online harassment, or through physical altercation. The month of October is National Bullying Prevention Month. Its goal? To encourage everyone to work together to stop bullying and cyberbullying and put an end to the hatred that comes with it. Christopher Anderson is the administrator for the Guam Department of Education Student Support Services Division.
National Bullying Prevention Month is just a great way for schools to focus, make a concerted effort to focus on how important it is to establish a positive climate on campus that focuses on inclusion of all students.
It's been more than a month into the new school year, and according to Anderson, they already have 30 cases of both bullying and cyberbullying. GDOE has a zero tolerance for bullying policy and sees it as one of the most serious offenses a student can commit. But what happens to a student who bullies others?
When students are found guilty of bullying or even cyberbullying offenses, the department suspends the student for 10 days. And it gets progressively more serious, obviously, as the students come in for more offenses.
Victims of bullying are urged to report it to a teacher or school staff immediately so it can be stopped right away. And if you see someone being bullied, speak up. Together, you can stop a bully in their tracks and stop them from doing more harm. Daniel Perez, KUAM News.
Thanks, Daniel, for that report. We'll keep it here. Dave Delgado is back with your roundup of local sports.
Power on with the strength of a Ram during Ram Power Days, happening now at Cars Plus Guam. Save up to $8,000 off on a brand new Ram truck today. My name is Jose Delgado, and you can contact me at 671-929-3645 to schedule a test drive, or you can visit our website at carsplusguam.com to learn more. Cars Plus, driven by you.
Don't need a work break, keep the smile on your face. The moments you can't replace, and I'll be around. Whoa. You can count on me. You can count on me for life.
Wherever life takes you, we're always here for you. Calvo's Insurance. Count on us for life.
And there you have it, McDonald's new crispy chicken sandwich. From the makers of the world's most stolen fries. The juicy chicken sandwich from the place that offers extra napkins for a reason. The tender chicken sandwich from the creators of a sandwich phenomenon. So you won't just be biting into a chicken sandwich, you'll be biting into McDonald's new crispy, juicy, tender chicken sandwich. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Connecting people, devices, and applications. At Docomo Pacific, we know a business like Ambith needs to be able to adapt under any work environment, to perform efficiently and stay operationally resilient. No matter what obstacles or opportunities your business faces, you need to connect with customers, employees, and partners in real time. That's why we do the heavy lifting, so you can jump right into what drives your success and meet your customers where they want to be met. Powering networks for performance, reliability, and satisfaction. Docomo Pacific. Work better together.
KUAM Sports is brought to you by Docomo Pacific. Better together.
What's up, Guam? Dave Delgado here for KUAM Sports. Thanks for watching. I'll get to some middle school girls softball league results in just a bit. But first off, some jiu-jitsu news with Professor Mike Carbolito out of Atos Jiu-Jitsu Guam. Check it out.
For them to be the leaders of Atos, for them to be able to see the growth from being open to a year in now, and also they're our family, so to be able to spend time with them as well and share our culture and share our island with them, it's been amazing. And everything that I learned is because of him, because of Angelica, because of my experiences at Atos HQ in San Diego, California. Everything that I learned out there, I brought to Guam. You know, his work that he allowed me to be a part of. It's amazing, man, and it shows, you know, it shows because the environment we have, the facility we have, the people that are in this facility that make the environment, it's an extension of Atos HQ, and more so it's an extension of Professor Andre, Professor Angelica, and their teachings, you know, that they do.
For more info about the gym, check them out on Instagram at Atos Jiu-Jitsu Guam or log on to www.atosjujitsuguam.com.
That's a part of the life, you know, is family, giving back, doing your best, right, serving others, you know, and all of these things that he's taught me and all of the experiences that he's given me throughout my life, living out there, 12 years I was out there, fresh out of high school, and man, it's there's no, you can't put a value on that, you know. I'm blessed, and this place, and we're all blessed to have them here.
In the Triple J Pony Middle School Girls Instructional Softball League Double Elimination Playoffs, Inaraha Middle School defeated Agata Johnston Middle School 10-9. Astumba Middle School picked up the 16-1 win over FBLG. Tuesday's game will be played between FBLG and Agata Johnston Middle School at 5 p.m. at the Triple J field located at Ukudu High School.
KUAM Sports is brought to you by Docomo Pacific. Better together.
My name is Lisa Tahaji. I'm from the village of Yamatic. I lost my job during COVID. For 1 year, I was staying with a family member, but I knew I had to find a place to stay. I was desperately looking for a home. I found out about the Relief Center from the Governor Lou and Lieutenant Governor Josh's Facebook page. I wasn't sure if they could help, but I thought I'd take a chance. I walked into the center and the staff were so understanding and compassionate, they helped me. Within a week, through their assistance, I was called to sign a lease agreement. My kids and I now have a roof over our heads, and I'm grateful for the help of the administration and the Relief Center. For anyone who needs any government assistance, I encourage you to visit the Relief Center. They are there to help.
Today, I'm Kelina from Doc's Kitty College.
And I'm Kristen from Doc's Daycare and Preschool.
And we are so honored to be caring for the children of Guam. The Governor's Child Care programs help businesses like ours to really focus on the kids. These programs also help nonprofits and after-school programs and grandparents and so many families.
Visit www.guamchildcare.com to learn more about the Governor's Child Care programs. This ad is paid for with funds administered by DPHSS.
And before we go tonight, here's your Cold Stone Creamery birthday shout-outs.
Happy October 3rd birthday to Jean Mindiola. We love you so much, says your shout out. And cheers to you. Cheers, clink, on your special day. God bless you always. Love your family, who's very, very proud of you. And Phoenix Callie, happy birthday. We love you. Say mom, dad, and sissy. And you know what? That's all you need, because that's everything. So happy birthday to Jean and to Phoenix.
And you can be a part of the Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club by checking out KUAM.com. That's our show. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Nick Delgado. Please stay safe, Guam.
Welcome to another edition of The Hub, where we talk all things politics on Guam. I'd like to introduce our guest for this week. We have Chirag Bojwani, who is the Executive Director of the Democratic Party of Guam, Dr. Ron McNinch of the University of Guam, and of course, our regular guest, the Chairman of the Republican Party of Guam, Mr. Juan Carlos Benitez. Thanks for joining us, gentlemen. Okay, let's start right off with the session this afternoon. One of the things that are going to be voting on is the Bill 11-36, which was vetoed by the governor. It would basically require the governor, had she signed it, to go to the legislature for authorization to extend public health emergency after the first 2 months. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that, and whether you or not you think it's going to be overridden today. And let me start with you, Chirag.
Thank you, Nestor. You know, the public health emergency, throughout the public health emergency, it's allowed our government to respond to the spikes in COVID. We've had, in addition to being able to respond to COVID, some of the things we were able to do is we were able to grant 1,000 temporary work permits for healthcare workers. 92 of them were doctors, and as of today, 55 of them are still, actively serving our community. It also allows us to receive supplemental SNAP funding, which benefits 12,000 households on Guam. There have been $27 million that have been afforded to Guam because of the state of public health emergency. And throughout the public health emergency, we only used emergency procurement twice, to my knowledge. One was for the hotels, and the other was for the procurement of fire trucks. Now, if you want to compare apples to apples, Governor Camacho, he declared 78 declarations of emergencies, from fixing a library, GMH, dealing with the ORDOT dump and Department of Corrections, the Fire Department, Public Works, and the OPA audit that was released that audited his emergency powers. It allowed him to skirt procurement regulations and ultimately brought Guam to the deficit that we inherited, and we thankfully brought down to zero. So, and you look around today, everything's back open, but you look at Guam's primary industry, tourism. Tourism has thankfully started to pick up, and we see the numbers, you see our tourists coming in, but we still need some flexibility to improve our destination and also help our only economic driver that is still hurting. So we're still doing what we can to deal with COVID. I know the talking point from Senator Duenas was President Biden saying COVID is over.
Pandemic's over, yeah.
But as we all know, the White House has walked back that statement, and I think it's more of, a figure of speech. COVID's over, but just, every day you read the daily COVID reports, people are still getting hospitalized, people are still getting sick, people are still dying. So have we come a long way? Of course. But is it still in our community, and is it still rapidly evolving and changing? I would say yes. And thankfully, everybody in our community, Democrats, Republicans, male, female, we've all done our part, gotten vaccinated. We've all adapted to this new norm of, using your hand sanitizer more often, being more cautious wherever you go. So has it improved? Yes. And it has improved thanks to everybody in the community. But is it still here? Of course. You can't discount the fact that it's not here.
All right, let me bring in Juan Carlos now. The Republican Party has come out in support of an override this afternoon. Tell us your side of this issue.
Sure, absolutely. Even the governor has come out publicly and said, we're not exercising any of these powers, and those restrictions have all been lifted. Then why are we keeping an emergency? Emergency powers are for emergency situations, not for prolonged multi-year systems that have been created. You did bring about the SNAP program. I think maybe it's hard to research, but here's a proclamation from Hawaii by the Democratic governor of Hawaii. I want to provide copies to all of you so you can see it. Just on the SNAP program, we've told the governor, if the issue is a SNAP program, just follow what Hawaii did. They eliminated the emergency declaration, kept it just for this one program, for this one benefit that is still needed in Hawaii. It's needed here. We have no problem with that. What we have problem is with trying to circumvent our procurement process to eliminate transparency, to make sure that the open public laws in KUAM are not followed because you're supposed to in an emergency. Look, I work with Catholic Social Services. I go in, we submit for our RFP. Then they cancel the RFP. Then we submit again for the next RFP. They cancel the RFP, and then they say emergency power. We're going to give you the contract. We're extending it to emergency power. I don't want to do it through emergency power. I want to do it through the regular procurement process that we're doing. So it's interesting that you say that they're not doing emergency procurement. They are, and whoever told you they're not is wrong. Reality is there's no reason. There's no reason today that we're not outside of this emergency procurement. We have 50 states in this nation. 40 of them have already announced that they ended the pandemic. The other 9 out of the other 10 have announced that they're ending it at the end of next month. So what are we waiting for? No one's wearing a mask around. Now you walk around, the only place they're forcing you to wear a mask is every time I go to the pharmacy.
The Catholic Social Services incident, you can still procure through an emergency without a public health emergency. And also, as far as I know, the open government law is still being practiced everywhere. Every meeting is broadcasted online. Everything is publicly noticed. And, with regards to Hawaii, the Family First Coronavirus Response Act, Section 2302, states that in the event of a public health emergency declaration based on outbreak of coronavirus disease 2019 and the issuance of an emergency or disaster declaration by a state based on an outbreak of COVID-19, that's what you need to qualify for the extra funding. On Guam, this emergency allotment provides over $2 million in cumulative monthly assistance to over 15,000 households. Now, if you want to find the $2 million for us, but be my guest, and I'm sure we can entertain it.
Just follow their same process. Just do the same executive order they do. Take where it says Hawaii, put Guam, and be fine with it. I see no problem on why is it so complicated that we can't do it. And in the issue of transparency, if we pass Bill 11, for 60 days it doesn't make any difference. In reality, is we're all expecting after the election this pandemic will be closed by when Felix Camacho becomes governor. Number two, all it requires after those first 60 days, there needs to be some public notice. People will provide comments and say, hey, do we really need to continue this pandemic or this emergency extended to an additional 30 days? If it's a new issue that happens, for any new issue or concern that you can do a brand new executive order for calling an emergency. I don't see any problem why it doesn't pass outside of the fact that this governor doesn't want it.
Let me ask Ron. Ron, are there any political implications, or is there any political fallout for continuing with the public health emergency?
First off, you're always putting me in the middle between these two guys, okay? I mean,
that's your job.
I'm stuck in the middle with the rest of the public here. You know, if I had it my way, we wouldn't pass any laws within 100 days of the election. You know, that's the bottom line, because all this is political nonsense. Why didn't we have this bill a year ago? Why wasn't it done that long ago? That's when it probably should have been done.
Actually, it was, wasn't it? And then it has been vetoed, and then it has been
That's my point.
attempted to be.
Why,
this will be the fourth time they
now?
will attempt to override.
Why is it bubbling up right before the election and everything else? And so I think the public's going to get tired of this nonsense. Only if the governor calls them into special session to do laws within 100 days of the election. That'd be my opinion.
Yeah, what's your gut? Is the override going to succeed, or?
It very well could happen, but I don't think so. But it could happen. It's one of those, like I'm stuck in the middle. You need 10. And so the question is, there's some departing Democrats that could just say, forget it, and let's parting shot do it. But then they have some bills they want to get passed by the governor, and so lex talionis, which is the law of retaliation, the governor wouldn't approve their bills if they did that. And so I don't think it'll pass.
All right, we'll know at around 4 o'clock today. I think that's when the legislature will convene, and that's one of the items that they'll be voting on. Let's move on. The Admiral appeared at the Guam Chamber of Commerce this week and announced that for the next 7 years, there will be on average $1.2 billion to $2 billion in military construction spending. And I'm wondering, from each party's perspective, what your thoughts are on that. And let me start with you, Juan Carlos.
So I think it's great news. A little bit of concern. I don't know if the actual construction industry in Guam is strong enough to absorb that entire amount now. The numbers we were getting till now is a number that was easily taken care of by local companies, so most of the money stayed locally. And so we'll see where it goes, but I'm excited that we're still moving forward. This is our strongest leg of our economy. Without it, we would be in a complete disastrous area. Chirac mentioned tourism industry. For next year, we're expecting around 100,000 tourists. That's a number we get in 1 month in 2019. So it's going to take time for the economic recovery on tourism industry unless we figure a different way to address the concerns. And I have not seen that under this administration. And we need to rely on Department of Defense and make sure that this money not only is assigned to Guam, but is actually expanded and the buildup continues to be built.
Yeah, sure.
Well, you know, to that point, 1.2 billion to 2 billion a year, you know, my friend Juan Carlos and his party, they love talking about cutting the BPT, but under the Democrat leadership of Speaker Terlahi, Vice Speaker Munya Barnes, Chairman Sonagston, we cut the BPT from 5 to 3% for 90% of Guam's businesses who make less than $500,000 a year. Now, when you talk about the buildup, you take a conservative estimate of the conservative 1.2 billion, 5% BPT of that is $60 million a year. 3% of that is 36 million. If you lower the BPT for these multi-million-dollar contracts that would be paying into Guam, you'd be losing anywhere from 24 million to 40 million a year. And over 7 years, it's 168 million to 280 million. I think it would bring much-needed resources to Guam. And you know, the Committee on the Guam Buildup and Public Accountability, Vice Speaker Munya Barnes did write to the public auditor, and we did some research on usaspend.gov and saw the contracts that were awarded for work done on Guam. It had the contractor, the dollar amount, and we asked the OPA to go look at whether or not those taxes are actually being paid here on Guam. So he's currently doing that audit, but over 7 years, anywhere from 168 million to 280 million, you know, the GOP loves to talk about crime, drugs, and all kinds of other problems in between. That money is going to definitely solve a lot of these problems. It would go a long way at hiring rehab professionals, hiring much needed law enforcement. You know, I recently went through rehab, and I had a really awesome counselor. He has a master's degree and multiple certifications in substance abuse. But you know, he shared with me that as soon as he's done with his pro-tech requirement, he's going to go look for another job in his same field for the federal government that pays him 3-4 times more. So we need to, as the cost of living is going up, as the workload is going up, we need to adequately compensate these much needed workers that we have to serve our community. And I think 168 million to 280 million would go a long ways at solving that problem.
Ron, with all these billions of military dollars flowing into Guam over the next 7 or so years, does that change the dynamic between the military here and the local government?
Well, first I wanted to say I'd like to thank Chirag for sharing his rehab story, and I think it's good for our families and community to have those kinds of open discussions, and I applaud you, Chirag. On the military, God bless America, God bless Guam, God bless our U.S. military and our veterans. You know what? We ask people all the time, what do you think of the military? Civil military affairs, we study it all the time in our polling. And you know what people say? We wish the local government would communicate better with the military. And they say, you know, how could the military do better? We wish the military could communicate better with our local government. And that's what the people view on the military government thing is, are they communicating? Are they working together? And then the other thing is just how positive our community views the military here. People have a very positive view of the U.S. military. Absolutely. It's not this artificial, oh, we hate the military. Not at all. When we look at the public and you listen to the public and you do polling on it, it's very positive.
And do you think that this will change the emphasis of the next congressional delegate, be it Jim Moylan or be it Speaker Juan Pat? Go ahead, whoever wants to.
I think the discussion nationally and internationally is right now on the rise of China. We've seen what happens when a rogue nation kind of decides to wake up one day and go invade a country. We don't want that to happen to Taiwan, and should that happen, it's right in our backyard. So I think there's the evolving threats in the region and also the encroachment of China right here in our backyard, in the CNMI, in the FSM. You see videos being circulated on social media of people coming off boats and washing up on Guam shores. And, you know, Juan Carlos knows this. That's what brought him to this part of the world with the DOJ. This has been going on for so long, and I think now it's finally being put in the right perspective. And as you see our governors in DC right now at the Pacific Island Country Summit, this is a conversation that, regardless if you're Democrat or Republican, this is something that's of significant interest to Americans and honestly citizens of the world, people who live in the Pacific, people who live in Asia.
Yeah, the question was, do you think this should shift the focus of the next congressional delegate?
I absolutely think that you will not get a better congressman for Guam than Jim Moylan. He's wore the uniform. He's committed to serve in the Armed Services Committee and serve as a voice that can translate the concerns of Guam to the folks not only in the military but also in that committee. He's also going to be a congressman that's not going to be going to the UN and calling the military government as an imperialistic power, or he's going to be arguing about whether they should be here or not. He's committed. Guam's part of America. We're moving forward, and we need to be united in the way that we look at things and make sure that it's a one Guam strategy. You know, that was a concept that was brought in the original build-up under Felix Camacho, and we continued through it with the changes that was done under Governor Calvo. We need to look at this build-up as it impacts the entire island, not just inside of the fence, and forget about us in the outside.
All right, we'll get to you in a minute, Ron. We got to go to a break. We'll be back with more of the hotspot right after this.
KUAM News, winner of the 2022 Regional Edward R. Murrow Award for Excellence in Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the Culture Club.
Honey, do you want some milk?
Do you ever wonder how your favorite products make their way into your local stores? Most arrive on state-of-the-art Matson vessels that transport containers of food, household items, equipment, and supplies into the islands every week. Because we know that you depend on us, We work closely with our partners to ensure that our shipments arrive on time, all the time, so you can find your favorite products when you need them. We transport the region's most precious cargo that supports successful businesses and promotes a better quality of life for our families. Matson is proud to have been the hometown shipping carrier for Guam, the CNMI, and Micronesia for the past 25 years, and you can count on us to be here for generations to come.
Dance party.
Let's go.
When inspiration strikes, say yes with the new Priority Unlimited credit card from First Hawaiian Bank. Wherever you shop, whatever you're shopping for, you can earn 2% cash back on everything you buy. From small stuff to big stuff to stuff you want. A card that rewards you for every purchase and helps you stay connected to everything that matters.
All that melty cheese you crave with double the steak is back at Taco Bell. The double steak grilled cheese burrito.
Guam's auto appearance specialist, Elegant Reflections, has been providing the automotive industry with professional detailing and car care products at its highest quality, from complete detailing, full interior detailing, exterior detailing, headlamp restoration, hand washing, seat and carpet shampoo, engine degreasing, undercarriage cleaning, paint sealant, fabric protection, paint oxidation removal, and so much more. Visit us at our new location. Call 646-5555 for an appointment. Elegant Reflections, Guam's auto appearance specialist, over 20 years of experience.
All right, we are back, and we'll continue our discussion really briefly on the delegate question. Go ahead, Ron.
Thank you, Nestor. First, I wish Madeline Berdalio were running again. Okay, that's my preferred candidate. And by the way, I want to tell both the Republicans and the Democrats, this is the lowest energy delegate race I've ever seen. I want to see some more action going on. There's nothing going on.
Yeah. What kind of action you talking about?
I want to see some debate. I want to see some contrast.
Yeah. You don't think that there's any contrast at this point? No,
there's nothing going on. This should be WWF for Washington, D.C.
I think the contrast is pretty apparent. One is a workhorse and the other's a show horse. One has served for ages.
You're referring to Judy as a show horse?
No, workhorse. I started my career with her. She mentored me, and that's how I got into politics. And one thing I can say about Speaker Wampat is she comes to work before any of her staff, and she leaves after all of them. She's there on Saturdays, and just last week she was in D.C. meeting with members of the Armed Services Committee, members of the Natural Resources Committee. She didn't even wait for the election to start networking and said, I want to be in that committee, and she met all the chairmen.
But don't you think that it's weird that she waited to this stage of the process to start going to Washington to meet people? I think we need a congressman that already knows those folks and has a relationship with that leadership. Jim Moylan has been doing this for a couple of years. We've been working, going to D.C., meeting with the folks in Washington, organizing and structuring the efforts that we're going to do once he wins this election. You're going at the last minute, and you're going, I want a photo up with somebody so I can put it on my page so like I know D.C. Come on.
I don't think it was a photo op. It was a continuation of the close working relationship she's had with all these stakeholders in D.C. I know when I worked at Interior, Speaker Wampat has continuously held meetings, sent emails back and forth, and unfortunately for Senator Moylan, the guy he knows in D.C. is no longer in Congress.
All right, let's move on. Speaking of Congress,
last time I thought McCarthy was going to become the Speaker of the House in this upcoming election. So, and they know him very well.
Polling data I saw today has Democrats leading to keep Congress.
All right. Speaking of national politics, as I mentioned, there is a concluding U.S. First ever U.S. Pacific country summit called by President Biden. Governor Leon Guerrero is there as an observer for the U.S. delegation, and our good friends and neighbors from the FSM, the Marshals, the Republic of Palau are also there, along with 12 or 13 other Pacific Island countries. Pretty significant, do you think? Let's start with you, Chirag.
I think so. For the longest time, our federal stakeholders, when they try to deal with territorial issues as it relates to Guam, it's kind of unique and a nuance. They always see us as this forgotten stepchild, and now, thanks to the work of this Governor Leon Guerrero and Carlotta Leon Guerrero, Vera Tapasnia, and our partners at JRM, we're kind of making the case to our federal stakeholders that, you know what, we're the prodigal child you forgot we had, or you forgot you had. And so they see that we are what they need to keep their hegemony in the Pacific and in the world, and they notice that, they realize that, and it was more than just political theory, it was action, as you saw with Teddy Roosevelt, as you saw with COVID. We showed up, we rolled up our sleeves, and it's a commitment of not only the administration, but the entire people of Guam as it relates to our relationship with the federal government. So Governor Leon Guerrero being invited to the table to be a part of the discussion and also share her perspectives on everything, I think it's important that we have that voice of Pacific Islander at the table.
Juan Carlos, your thoughts on the significance of this U.S. Pacific Country Islands Summit?
Yeah, it's. I didn't realize this was an effort that was driven by the governor of Guam. I actually thought that was a process that was started under the Trump administration when we had the first meeting ever at the White House of the presidents of the freely associated countries. And if we want to be more specific, it's reactionary. We're reacting to what China has influenced in this region, and we're catching up. When you look at this administration, it took 2 letters from the Senate Armed Services Committee asking them to appoint an Assistant Secretary for Insular Affairs and asking them to appoint a negotiator for the Compacts of Free Association. And then a 3rd letter asking them to move forward with the compact because it was taking too long and they didn't see any form of progress moving forward. I think I forwarded you one of the letters. It's a great thing that it's happening. This is something that needs to be a continued process as we move forward. But Guam, Northern Mariana Islands, American Samoa need to be more than just observers. They need to be part of the delegation with full authority of participation in, because this is not compact negotiations. This is more a regional meeting and how we move forward through the region. They are mentioning the importance of doing the compact negotiations. It was one of the talking points by the president. I was disappointed he did not mention Guam in his speech or at any part in the process. I wish he would have. I applaud the governor for going and participating. Her task is going to be a tough one, but she needs to move forward. But when we look at the summit, they're looking how to spend money that cannot directly go into Guam. They're talking about the billions of dollars that the federal government implements. It's APEC money, Asia Pacific Island Conference, is ASEAN conference funding, is what is called the Asian Development Bank funding. So they're trying to identify how do we work together and get these forms of funding to work and benefit these Pacific Island countries so that they're more comfortable and happier to be part of America and staying in our sphere of influence versus going to China that's paying for the school to older children. Full rights into Beijing going on every day. So when you look at that, it is a more expansive process. It's interesting to see one reaction that we saw already from the Biden administration. They took the funding for the Compacts of Free Association out of the Department of Interior. They have put that funding now in the Department of State. We'll see if Congress agrees to that or not. I do like the appointment of Carmen Cantor, Ambassador Cantor, to be the Assistant Secretary for Insular Affairs. I think that was a great move. Ambassador, I'm going to pronounce his name, I think it's Wu, as the head of the Compacts of Free Association. He has a great reputation in D.C.
You're speaking of the negotiator.
Yes.
Yeah, John Yu.
Yu.
Yeah.
And he has a great reputation in D.C. So I think we have 2 good people doing there. I think this conference is an effect of that. What role will Guam get and how we'll move forward will be interesting to see. With Jim Moylan in Congress and with Governor Felix Camacho going forward, I would advocate that the next conference should be in Guam. if we're so important and we're the center of this going on, the negotiations should be here.
I just want to add one thing real quick. You know, the federal government finally realizes Guam is the missing piece to make this work, and that's essentially why the governor sat right next to the Secretary of State throughout this whole thing. Over the last few months, we've been able to meet with numerous CODELs. Just next week, there's a CODEL coming into Guam from the House Appropriations Committee, specifically the subcommittee for military construction and Veterans Affairs. They know it's what they need. They're coming here, they're seeing it firsthand, and it's all finally coming together. I think Ambassador Cantor as Assistant Secretary would be great. The one thing I have to say, though, is, you know, the Office of Insular Affairs has nothing to do with Puerto Rico. I wish we had somebody from our part of the world to represent our interests that knows our islands. But regardless of that, Ambassador Cantor has gone out of her way to really know the region and do her best to advocate for it. She did that as ambassador of the U.S. to the FSM.
Okay. And she spent 8 months here in Guam, you know, which was great. She moved the entire embassy to Guam.
She was stuck here during the pandemic. Yeah, I remember that. All right, we're going to get to you, Ron. We're going to talk more about this summit, which I think is a very significant event, right after this break. Please stay with us.
Mobile offers a new and convenient way to fuel your vehicle. Pay gas and go. No need to line up inside the store. Press preset. Enter whole dollar amount without decimals. Press loyalty ID and enter your mobile number or insert Smiles card. Insert and remove payment card or tap contactless credit card. Begin fueling. And don't forget to grab your receipt. Pay gas and go. It's that easy.
MTO Maintenance will now completely sanitize your home, office, or business with state-of-the-art commercial sprayers. For over 30 years, MTO Maintenance has been committed to the health and safety of our customers. And now, more than ever, a clean home, office, carpets, and furniture is a necessity to our island. Give us a call today. Stay healthy and stay safe, Guam.
Call 647-6861 for an appointment.
Fast, fun, and easy. That's how your home Wi-Fi should be. So start with an internet plan that fits your budget. Introducing your home Wi-Fi starter pack, also known as WISP. Enjoy up to 25 megabits per second for as low as $35 a month. Plus, a free router with your wireless subscription. That's hours of movies, games, social media, and more endless fun. Get your Wi-Fi starter pack today only at Docomo Pacific. Better together. Additional conditions may apply.
And that's where the cheese comes in.
I don't get it.
It's a thick crust with crispy edges. What is there not to get?
The sauce on top?
You haven't even tried it yet.
You know, she's got a point.
I don't want to talk about politics. Detroit style is back at Pizza Hut. No one out Pizza's the Hut.
All right, we are back, and we're going to continue our discussion of the Pacific Summit. Ron, go ahead. What are your thoughts?
Thank you, Nestor. You know, Hawaii's the most isolated island group in the world. Way up in the North Pacific, the U.S. treats them like they're the center of the island universe. They're so isolated. I hope somebody in the U.S. studies a little geography. Guam's at the center. We're at the hub of the big wheel here. And we should take on our role right here, ourselves. We should be the leaders on this, and we should volunteer to be the leaders. We should make more interactions with these island governments. We don't really do that. We need to try to do it more. And I'm very pleased to see that our local leaders are trying to do that, and traditionally they have through the APIL and other groups, but we can do more. We can do more at all levels.
Yeah. Juan Carlos mentioned the Compacts of Free Association and Ambassador Yu, who is in charge of negotiating that, and he said on another forum that he expects to get that done by the end of this year, and President Biden mentioned that during his speech today at the summit. What are your thoughts on how the freely associated states are going through these negotiations and leveraging, what is, as Juan Carlos also mentioned, the response to Chinese overtures in our region?
I think the Pacific Island nations, our brothers and sisters in Micronesia, are doing the right thing by leveraging their importance in this region, and they, just like Guam, know that they're what America needs to keep their dominance in this part of the world. So negotiating a lot of these things, and with every compact, it's it's not let's go re-sign the same thing and extend it. You know, that's not even a question. That's something America and the COFA states have said we're definitely doing it. But part of the thing that I appreciate that it's taking this long is they're going through it thoroughly. They're looking at what they could have improved from the last compact, and as every compact comes out, it evolves and it becomes a lot better. Tony actually negotiated the last compact, and I've heard some of the challenges that he had to go through, and sometimes with a lot of these agreements, you gotta get creative and think outside the box on how to deliver on